I've got a buddy who is local in this area, and he's got quite a few knives that he uses in his barbecue. He's been having me sharpen them for a little while now, and I don't think I've ever made a video on these. So I'm gonna bring you guys along and get these guys squared away. Most of them are already sharp. They really don't need much work done to them, just a touch up. Because he uses these knives in a barbecue setting, I generally don't take them to a very high polish. I usually stop around 1,000 or 2,000 grit, and he seems to be quite happy with that. So it's kind of where I'm going to go with this. I'm not sure if I'll use my 5K stone, but I'm going to be using the Shapton Pro tonight. I don't even think I'll bring out the 320. The 1K should be plenty to get any of these little nicks out that he may have. So if you guys are interested, stick around. We're going to get into quite a few knives. I'm going to start with this big dog here. I think this is his most used knife. Running my nail along the edge. I don't feel any major damage. There's just some real small microchipping. Looking at it under light, I don't see any nicks or anything like that. So I'm going to start on the 1K stone with this one. Should be plenty to get us where we need to go. Now with a large knife like this, I tend to sharpen in sections. I'll start down at the base and of course work my way up, and then I'll finish with really long sweeps. Another thing with a blade this long, you do want to sight it. Make sure that it's not warped, and this knife actually has the start of an S warp in it. That can cause problems in your bevel. As you're sharpening, one end may be really thin, and then it'll widen out, and then it'll thin out again. There's really not much you can do with that. It's just the way the knife is warped. You can try putting it on something flat and bending it. Just be careful not to snap the blade. You know, they're not really meant to do that. Check my progress, and yeah, I can see in my bevel this waviness. I don't remember if I know he had a little bit of a warp in it last time I sharpened, but I don't think it was this bad. So he's put this thing through the ringer, it looks like. My knuckles are hitting the edge of my sink here. Yeah, I can see where this warp is causing my angle to fluctuate down here in the base. It's not meeting up with what I ground previously. I don't know if you can hear that difference. I've got a burr on the underside. You hear it scraping my fingers. So that tells me we are ready to move over and switch sides. I did raise my angle ever so slightly on that last go round. That's because I had sharpened this knife at a bit of a higher or steeper angle than what I started at. So I just had to readjust. I can definitely feel that warp in the blade. I'm gonna have to let him know about that. He may want to consider getting this guy swapped out for something else. I've got a very small burr. I'm gonna go just a little bit longer just to work that side a little bit more. So I've got a burr across the whole edge. I'm gonna go ahead and do some minimizing passes. That warp is not fun to work with. Still feel a burr on this side. The 2000 grit Shapton Pro. To strop, I'm just using my DLT XL white compound. That's not bad for a warp blade. This next knife is his cleaver. He uses this for cutting up chickens and things of the like. This one's actually got a really good edge on it still. I'm just going to do a really quick touch up on the 2K stone. Call this one good. If memory serves, this too was only sharpened to 2000 grit because it's pretty rough, hard use knife. He's basically just chopping through chicken bones with this guy. Doesn't need a super fine edge. This knife has just the slightest belly right at the tip. So when you get to that area, you just kind of lift your hand. I can actually feel a burr. Just finishing up here. Stropping again, DLT XL Leather, white compound. I think this is going to be the last one I record. I still got a few more knives, but this is one of the last big ones. Again, you want to sight it, make sure there's no warps in the blade. Not that I wouldn't sharpen it anyway, but it does help me when I'm trying to figure out problems. This knife also, no nicks in the blade, just some slight wear. I'm going to start on the 2K, see what I can do. I may have to go to the 1K, but I think this one is at a point that it doesn't need that coarse of a stone to bring the edge back. And this one, you got to get right up on the handle. Now with a knife with this much belly, it requires a little manipulation. But basically all you gotta do is just lift your hand. I know you guys can't see it, but my elbow is quite high. But that's all I'm doing. I'm just lifting my hand and following that curve. I'm having to pay special attention to the tip here because there's such a large sweep in that belly. I'm missing the very tip. So I'm going back and just paying a little extra attention to that to make sure it gets sharpened. Same thing on this side. One more time with the strop here. It's sharp enough to do some work in the kitchen. Gave you guys a quick close-up of this bevel. Stays pretty consistent. Right up until the end where you get by that handle. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them down below. I appreciate you watching. Y'all have a good one.